Sponsors include HBO Max, presenting the HBO original, The Pit. Nominated for 13 Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series. Starring Noah Wyle, the series follows emergency department staff as they attempt to overcome the hardships of a single 15-hour work shift at the fictional Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Hospital, all while having to navigate staff shortages, underfunding, and insufficient resources. Don't miss the series NPR is calling exceptional, the best new show. Now streaming on HBO Max.
I got done and really was just like, that's it. That was the show.
And just like that.
And just like that.
The toilet was unclogged.
Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. I'm your host, Elaine Lowe, staff writer at the Ankler and author of the series Business Newsletter. This week, we're talking the lucrative world of agency representation for influencers and digital creators and the end of an era for rom-coms. But also, maybe, the resurgence of the genre as Hollywood goes on a rom-com buying spree this year. Here with me are Sean McNulty of the Wake Up Newsletter and Natalie Jarvie of Like and Subscribe. I'm sure you're both still reeling from the series finale of the rom-com on TV right now, and just like that.
We going with com on that? Is that more rom than com? I don't know. I've not seen any of the show, so I have no idea really what you're talking about, other than I know it is ending.
I have enough takes for both of us, Sean. Don't worry.
Thank you. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. And if you need a UFC commentary, I'm your guy. But maybe not just like that today. So
yeah. We'll see if we can bring it around full circle.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think that one's going to make it today.
Make the connection.
Yeah.
We've both seen the finale, Natalie, and have a lot to say about Carrie Bradshaw and Friends and what it means for the business when a show that is consistently in the top 10 on HBO Max is not coming back. But first, a small programming note. While we are recording this on Wednesday, August 13th, we're actually delaying the release of this pod to drop right after the series finale of the HBO Max series so that we can talk about And Just Like That in full spoiler mode. So if you have not yet seen the very last episode, save this Ankler pod until you have, because we are here for you. And believe me, you will need emotional support after that finale. But before we get to that, let's talk about the wild world of creators and why they're looking for their own Jerry Maguires to show me the money. Okay, so Addison Rae, Mr. Beast, Alex Cooper, that lady who went viral for her 50-part Who the Bleep Did I Marry? These are all people who became famous on the internet in wildly different ways, but all have one thing in common. They have big-time Hollywood agents at CAA and UTA and WME. So, Natalie, what does it mean when we're talking about digital creators? Because all of them do very different things.
Yeah. So, for starters, there are a lot of ways to define a creator today. TikTok stars, Instagrammers, podcasters.
I was told I'm a creator, by the way. Am I a creator, Natalie?
You create a newsletter every morning, Sean. So, yes,
I'm on a video podcast online, so, on Instagram. So, right?
Are there newsletter creators who have agents?
I was told this. Not that I don't have an agent, but I was told, yeah, you're a creator. I'm like, I don't know that I call myself that, but I guess you could put me in that bucket, Natalie.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily, who's repping every major Substacker these days, but
right. Some of them probably have reps. Yeah.
They're making videos and building large audiences online. And that's essentially what it's all about, right? Yeah. Is if you have a large audience online, you are a creator, whether or not you define yourself as one.
Right.
So that's that could be anyone from a podcaster to a musician to a YouTuber, that all kind of falls in the same bucket when we're talking about digital creators, right?
Absolutely. And, there are big time actors who are now acting a lot like creators in terms of their Instagram brand partnerships and YouTube channels and all of the above.
So if you're a creator, why would you want a Hollywood agent? I thought the whole appeal of doing things is that it's basically we cut out the middleman and you get to reap most of the rewards.
This is the interesting thing. If you're a creator, you're probably pretty self-made. You may have started making your own YouTube series or your own podcast, or you became viral overnight on TikTok. But at a certain point, most creators hit this inflection point where their business becomes too big for them to manage on their own. A lot of creators do sign with managers when they're pretty small. Managers can help them kind of just with the volume of deal flow that they see. A lot of creators just get brands reaching out to them in their DMs asking if they can do a brand deal. So having a manager who can kind of help them sort through all of that and think about kind of their long-term growth can be really helpful. But when you need the firepower of someone who can go out there and help you land a really major deal, a super Super Bowl commercial, $100 million podcast deal, maybe a starring role in a movie.
Right.
That's where you need an agent. And ultimately, a lot of these creators they're talent. They're very charismatic. Maybe they're not necessarily trained actors, but they absolutely are thinking about how to extend their fame and the audience that they've built online into new mediums. And agents can really help with that.
So if you're a creator, like at what point, at what follower threshold, at what part of the business does it make sense for you to find an agent?
It really depends. If you're a creator who pops overnight, like you literally go viral with like a 50-part series about, who the bleep did I marry?
The Hawk Tua girl, maybe perhaps. Like, is that the info of this?
Exactly. The agents are going to come calling right away. And, it might make sense for you to sign with an agent to help kind of, just deal with kind of the inbound that all of a sudden you're experiencing from this newfound fame and to figure out like what you want to do with that fame. But otherwise, creators are kind of broken down into different categories, and macro creators start at anyone over 100,000 followers. Mega creators are anyone with over 1 million followers. I would say people usually in that macro or mega category are the creators who benefit the most from working with an agent.
So I have ways to go, Natalie. What you're trying to tell me is not quite yet on the radar. Is there?
You gotta start posting more TikTok videos, Sean.
I guess so.
You gotta beef up your YouTube presence.
Yeah, I have to be on those platforms first, but exactly, yeah.
But like, how big of a business is this for traditional Hollywood talent agencies? And like, do they pay as much attention to like the Hawk Tuah girl as they are like a Zendaya or a Tom Cruise? Because I can't imagine that they're like high priority for a lot of these traditional Hollywood guys.
So the talent agencies have all been repping creators for a while. All the way back in 2006 was when the first talent agencies started thinking about creators and repping people on digital. Back then, we called them web series. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And so, they've been doing this for quite a while now, almost 2 decades. But the challenge early on is that there weren't these really clear, defined money-making streams for creators. And the brand deals back then were really small. The creator economy is now a huge business. And so, you can make a lot more money as a creator these days. And so agents who are commissioning that 10% can make a lot more money too. Now, I will caveat all that by saying that, you've still got your big actors and actresses who only have to maybe land a couple big deals a year and their agents will commission their 10% and be set for the year. You have to do a lot more high volume brand deals in the creator business to equal that. But, when you're talking about an Alex Earl who was in 2 Super Bowl commercials this year, or, a podcaster who's nabbing one of those 7, 8-figure podcast deals, 9-figure podcast deals in some cases, that's a pretty good amount of money. And that's why all of these talent agencies have really been focused on, building up their creator representation businesses over the last few years.
I mean, something that's interesting when I think about this is I wonder, like, who needs who more, right? Like, do digital creators need agents more right now, or do Hollywood agencies need digital creators? Like, I think about this period that we've been in now. Obviously, we're no longer in a peak TV period, where we don't have 600 scripted series on the air. A lot of the showrunners who get hired are like old reliable, like old faithful, like not a lot of like newer voices coming in compared to like 5-7 years ago. Is this an area of growth, or is this like a nice to have or like a must have if, from the Hollywood side of the business?
If you're a talent agency today, you have to have a strong, thriving creator business to be one of the power players of the agency world. Absolutely. I mean, listen, Entourage, if it was coming out today, I think Ari Gold absolutely would be repping a big TikTok star.
I think maybe Lloyd would be representing them. I don't know. Maybe it'd be a Lloyd thing. Just saying.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But these are the stars of the future, and their careers are massive and growing. And any talent agency that wants to be taken seriously should be working with creators.
So we should be pitching in Entourage for the creator economy to HBO like tomorrow, right, Natalie? I mean, this would be the new version of this show. Right inside these agencies you're talking about. I think we have a show right here. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I think there would be some wild stories to tell on a show like that.
Come on. Yeah.
It would be like the other two, but instead of the like siblings of the TikTok star, it's the agents and the reps.
Yeah. I'd watch that show. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's
Casey Boyce, let's get on it. Yeah, let's give Casey a call.
Well, Natalie has a great story on all of this and more information on the specific Hollywood agencies that represent all of the biggest and best digital creators. So make sure you check out Like and Subscribe this week. It's got pros and cons on 4 of the town's biggest agencies for digital talent, and that can all be found at theankler.com as well as what's the standalone site?
Like and subscribe news.substack.com.
All right. Okay, so let's take a little break now. And when we get back, let's unwrap our emotional trauma from the series finale of And Just Like That, Natalie, and talk about the resurgence of rom-coms and why it's significant right now in the business. We'll be back in a moment. Sponsors include HBO Max, presenting the HBO original, The Pit. Nominated for 13 Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series. Starring Noah Wyle, the series follows emergency department staff as they attempt to overcome the hardships of a single 15-hour work shift at the fictional Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Hospital, all while having to navigate staff shortages, underfunding, and insufficient resources. Don't miss the series NPR is calling exceptional, the best new show. Now streaming on HBO Max. Welcome back to the Ankler Podcast, where we're paying tribute to the end of the Sex and the City television universe and what it means for rom-coms as a business. As Samantha Jones once said about Carrie's apartment, a lot of shit went down here. Attention must be paid. So we're going to get into the business end of the stick in a moment, but first we have to talk about this finale. Natalie, you and I both watched it at about almost exactly the same time. What did you think of the And Just Like That finale?
You know, I have to say I was a little underwhelmed. It didn't really feel like the weight of like this could be the last time we see these characters on TV. And there was a moment like partway through when Miranda's toilet gets clogged and you see everything. And I had to text you to be like, what are we doing here? Really?
See, this is when I started watching it. When you texted me, Natalie, and you were like, are you watching the finale? Are you watching screeners of this? And I was like, why? What's happening?
Just, I'd love to know, like, the conversation in the writer's room that was like, yeah, I know, this big, impactful series finale episode, like, we're going to clog Miranda's toilet.
just like Carrie in Paris in the first time around, you know, it very much the same vibes there. Very good.
Not just clog the toilet, but then show us what's in the toilet.
Man.
What about series finale says, show me some turds in Miranda's toilet? I mean, come on. Victor Garber deserves better.
He really does. Carrie deserves better. All our ladies deserve better. I got done and really was just like, that's it. That was the show.
And just like that.
And just like that.
The toilet was unclogged.
Well, I mean, I think there's the question, right, of like, was this actually meant to be a series finale? Like, of course, creator Michael Patrick King released a statement last week on the And Just Like That Instagram, of course, announcing the end of the show. And he said that when he was writing the season 3 finale, quote, it became clear to me that this might be a wonderful place to stop. And he said that he and Sarah Jessica Parker and HBO Max head Casey Bloys and their head of original drama, Sarah Aubrey, decided to extend the season from 10 to 12 episodes so that they could have this 2-part finale. But the amount of discussion online of was this show actually canceled and just being given a graceful exit, let's really permeated it because, I mean, it's been such a divisive show. So I guess the question is, does this feel like a series finale, like a purposeful series finale?
I mean, there are a few storylines that felt like they wrapped up well, right? Like Carrie ending alone, but kind of coming to terms with that. Like that felt okay and felt right. You know, I didn't necessarily need to see her end up with, you know, Big in the original or Aiden or, you know, any other potential former love interest who could have, come back into the frame. Yeah, that felt right. And, you know, you've got Miranda in a serious, like, loving relationship. All our women seem for the most part to be like pretty content. But it just didn't have the gravitas of a finale to me. I mean, they spent most of the episode not together. And it felt like, they could have gone a little bit bigger and could have put a, more solid button on the end of the show.
I mean, Sean, you worked at HBO during peak Sex in the City, early
Yes.
aughts, Frenzy, Sex in the City mania.
Yeah.
I mean, like that was, and I mean, I know you didn't watch much of the show, Sean, but like
I watched the original I watch it all
Yes.
the time. It's a great show. I just have refused to have anything to do with anything afterwards. So that's kind of, I like where my memories are at. So that's kind of where I leave it. And, everything I'm hearing today has nothing to encourage me to
Well, let's
dive
talk
into
about
this new
that, about
version.
holding on to those good memories, because
Okay.
like that feels like so much of what everybody watching this show is kind of doing, right? It's like we're savoring what remnants of what once was like the great pop cultural juggernaut that was Sex in the City, which I mean, like, what was that time like, Sean? Tell us how was it like from the inside?
So how old were you all when this show was airing? Let's maybe
I was in
preface that
high
question.
school?
Just
Yeah.
so say 2000. We'll call it 2000. Maybe the 2001 somewhere in there. So what do you got, Natalie?
I was 13, 14.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 8th grade, freshman year of high school.
All right. Were you watching the show when it's back then, or did you both watch it afterward?
No, I started watching Sex in the City my senior year of high school because I had a friend who had the full DVD set. And so
DVDs,
we would trade the DVDs. A group of my friends would like
wow.
borrow the DVDs and trade them back and
Oh,
forth.
that's so fun.
Yeah, and then I've done rewatches over the years once
Sure.
it hit streaming.
Sure. Elaine, you were not watching that when you were 13 years old, were you?
I probably only accidentally caught one episode,
Yeah.
like when I was like an aunt's house who happened to
that
have.
doesn't seem approved in the Low household. I don't know that was.
Like when we were at an aunt's house once, and they had HBO, and I caught the episode where Charlotte is getting married. And they're shopping for bridesmaids' dresses, and Samantha's like talking about the length of her bridesmaid's dress, and Charlotte's like, "Oh, that's close. Might see you next Tuesday." And that was the most scandalizing thing I had like ever heard at that time. But no, I actually caught it more in its TBS era, and then went to DVD to see the full thing.
Nice,
So
okay.
came to it very late, but then became a devotee.
Very old school media we're talking about here. Cable
TBS
TV,
and
DVDs
Yeah.
rolling around. So yeah, VHS at some point. I mean, that's what it was. And you mentioned that moment, Elaine, but it was that show that you would talk, it was kind of essentially pre-internet here. I mean, internet was around, but it wasn't, definitely before social media or anything like that. So it would just say things and do things that weren't being done in shows. And those moments would really that's what you would talk about afterward. And you'd be at the hot clubs, and it'd be like New York was is that even a part of this show anymore? I don't even, not that.
I think they go to a bar like twice. There's no hot clubs on a Just Like That, is there, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, listen, these women have aged, right? They're out of their clubbing era.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I kind of like seeing a picture of women, at a different stage of life and following these characters, through the eras. That is fun. And that's partly what was nostalgic about watching And Just Like That. I mean, let me be clear. I would watch a new episode of this show every week until the end of time.
You have been. Yes, there you go.
I would probably hate watch it sometimes, but I would still watch it every week if they wanted to give it to me, which is why it's so surprising that the show is ending. I will also say the cultural resonance of the original Sex and the City is still going strong. I mean, I don't know, Sean, you're maybe on a different Instagram than me, but
I'm guaranteeing we are. Yeah.
there are all sorts of West Village girls these days just living out their,
Oh,
Sex
sure.
and the
Oh,
City
yeah. The
dreams.
spirit of the show lives on. I think it's inspired by the original, not necessarily by the new one. And
Yeah, those are Carrie 3.0, 4.0, the new West Village girls. It's like several generations of Carrie.
oh, her townhouse is still one of the most visited places in New York City. All those places.
They had to install a gate in front of it to keep people off the stoop. So, it's still a very relevant show, even to new generations. I am
Totally.
curious how many of those new generations are watching the reboot or had been watching the reboot.
Yeah. But what always catches me is about this show, Elaine, is that it really has never been replicated. Like, for every, maybe How I Met Your Mother followed Friends, you'd have their kind of different tier,
but
of
those
course.
are
But still,
friends hanging out on a sofa type shows. It's different from.
well, this is women dating in New York or in a major city. Name me a show that really is in this tradition, and I don't know that it's ever really. And it is hard. It was a little lightning in the bottle, and again, just New York at the time. Kind of just being this epicenter of, it always is to a degree, but definitely coming out of the 90s where it was a little bit tougher and the resurgence of a lot of parts of New York. But it's just always kind of like, why hasn't anybody, to my knowledge, Cap, maybe you can speak, your generation has this show. I don't really, really know. It's more of a Gen X thing, I guess, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's a very different kind of show, but Girls was in a way the millennial version of, young women dating, succeeding and failing in New York City. I also also was a big fan of The Bold Type,
Yes.
which followed a bunch of young women in New York working
Is it
for
a magazine
fiction
show?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They talked a lot about the quote .com, which always cracked me up.
And a place where we all Bold Type fans discovered Megan Fahey before the rest of you, before she went mainstream.
Okay, nice.
It's true. I mean, that never reached the same levels of, cultural awareness, but it had a vibe. It had a similar, you could tell they were absolutely drawing from some Sex and the City inspiration.
That's why, and Just Like That, I feel like has so many of us in its chokehold because we're trying to hold on to a truly great show that was the center of the cultural universe in the early aughts, and that nothing has really replaced since then. And also, I mean, there was a period of time where it's like, yeah, we would have a girls, and they tried to replicate, I think, after Sex and the City, other shows from those creators like Lipstick Jungle and those things that didn't really do as well.
That never caught, no,
right?
Of course,
like
of course.
A lot of like spiritual spin-offs that never quite worked. But like we're coming back around to it now, and it's like, even for the people who are hate watching and Just Like That, it's like they keep coming back because guess what? People want rom-coms. It's like How to Lose a Guy charted on Netflix in the top 10 in like late 2024. Like what year did that movie come out? And like I feel like every 2 years, like somebody declares the resurgence of the rom-com and then it doesn't really happen. But I think right now we're maybe at an inflection point. Like maybe we're actually at a point where, we can talk about the different economic reasons going into this, but it's like there are a ton of rom-coms coming up on the development slate. Like you look at Netflix alone. Okay, there's Voicemails for Isabel. That's a Zoe Deutsch project, and she was, of course, in Set It Up a couple of years ago. There's Just Picture It with Millie Bobby Brown. There's J-Lo and Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso have a rom-com. Lily Reinhart has 2 at Amazon. There's an Io Debris one at Apple TV Plus. There's a ton of stuff. And, and then there's like TV shows like Too Much and Nobody Wants This. It's like, why are they having a moment right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, from the movie point of view, you're naming all streaming, and that's really the thing of where it never really went away, and frankly, it went to streaming. Where Netflix consistently, like last year, let's see, it had at least, excluding the Christmas movies, which you can kind of put in your own. They are rom-coms, but maybe a holiday movie. They had 6. They have at least 3 or 4 a year with the Lily Reinharts, the Scott Foleys, the Haley Lou Richardson. Sophia Carson is a huge rom-com star. She has a movie right now. The number 1 movie in the world right now on Netflix is a rom-com. My Oxford Year. So case in point right there. And Amazon's had The Idea of You. It's had I Want You Back, Upgraded. They've had not as much. So it's lived on there for sure. But I guess the people, there's a kind of theatrical thing of like, why don't they make them in movies anymore? Where Anyone But You kind of had this moment that caught everybody by surprise. And we still haven't seen much since then, I think. But to your point, there's a lot of things being bought, the scripts being bought, put in development. There will be more shots taken back in this genre where there's no reason why they still can't work. I mean, Crazy Rich Asians was only but 7 years ago. It wasn't like it was 20 years ago, and obviously take a couple of years of COVID out of there. So, they've been resonating on streaming for a long time. So I'm not surprised that, they find success with this stuff.
I see definitely some kind of parallels to what we've seen around the COVID era boom in, book TikTok, and young women wanting to read romance or romantasy. I mean, the Emily Henry rom-com books.
How many Emily Henry books are in development now?
I think all TV? Of them. One of them is coming to Netflix in 2026, early 2026. So you have this group of primarily young women who are hungry to read these kinds of books. I mean, some women read like upwards of 50 of these like romance novels a year because they're just so quick and easy to get through. There's a ton of IP that can be developed and adapted into Hollywood now. And I think a lot of people are seeing the potential to, kind of capture that audience that's clearly very engaged, especially on TikTok and social media around conversing about these books and try to see if they can get them to watch a Netflix movie or
that is
TV
that kind
show.
Of big source material. Yeah, it's an interesting point where that or into series too, where I think when Summer I Turned Pretty a lot of those series were books as well. So that's and that's another thing too. The YA series, Elaine, is maybe not rom-com, but
there's
definitely
the YA
rom
and there's a Venn diagram for YA and rom-com for sure.
Yeah, which is obviously huge on Amazon, on Netflix.
YA another big one right now.
But you don't really. It's interesting. You kind of see who's playing in this and who's not. Where Peacock really hasn't been in this. HBO Max, like, not ringing a bell unless I'm really
They had that limited series, miniseries with Anna Kendrick. She was in
Love
the
Life?
first Love Life. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
actually just went to Netflix, which I think is really interesting.
I think that was their first series, actually, at HBO, the old HBO Max. That was their first, Paul Feig. And yeah. That's right. Yeah. So but that was their first, that was 4 years ago. Like, I thought they haven't really found much success in it, and they've kind of maybe ceded that to the Netflixes and Amazons of the world. But
which could speak to why we're not getting another season of End Just Like That. You know, clearly that was a show that people were watching. But as we look at the HBO and HBO Max lineup, they are definitely moving a lot more into IP adaptations, and then the
Harry
kind of
Potters and
and then the buzzy prestige HBO shows that we'll continue to get.
Right.
Yeah, which is a little bit of a shift from, a couple of years ago when I would, do these routine sellers guides and talk to agents who are trying to sell to like HBO Max. Then they were looking for things that were more female skewing, kind of like in the vein of And Just Like That, or like The Flight Attendant, the Kaylee Cuoco
Oh, right,
show.
Flight Attendant. Yeah, which was
like
the rom-com, but yeah.
And well, just like in terms of like looking for women audiences, and now there's like a little bit of a shift, and there's kind of the question of like what's the balance between like dad TV and more female skewing shows. But then there's also the production budget like side of the equation, right? Like obviously a rom-com much cheaper to produce than like your big sci-fi show or even your dad TV and action adventure show. It allows you to take a little bit of a swing there at a lower cost.
Yeah, and that's mentioned these stars that are in these movies on streamers. They're not Jennifer Aniston rom-coms. This is, again, Haley Lu Richardson, Lily Reinhart, Scott Foley, Harry Connick. Yeah, you're not, because that's the problem with the rom-com budget, is that you had to pay the A-list actress and maybe an A-list actor to come and be in the movie, the Meg Ryans of the world, whatever, and that just puts $20 million in your budget right away, much less before shooting it, where if you don't have that factor, the genre, and Natalie, to your point, maybe you don't need that factor. The draw is now maybe the book or the thing, the IP that is the draw for the fans of this genre now.
Can I just say, though, going back to And Just Like That for a moment, if I may,
Please,
since we have this platform.
Bring it back.
I just wanted to see these women in the same room at the same time talking to each other.
That's
you
what
want
the
to talk
show
about
is.
low budget? Just put them in a blank room. Fine, a nicely appointed room, actually, a Patricia Field appointed room. But
well, that diner they went to originally was not a great. If you look back in the set, it's like the most
that's
basic
all
set
I wanted
in the world.
To see.
Like,
Natalie, the way this ended, which is I think what brings up the question of was this really supposed to be a series finale? Is like these women weren't even in the same room for most of this episode. Like, is that how we
tips
all
my mind off, Elaine,
wanted this to end?
Yeah, listen, if we're calling And Just Like That or Sex and the City a rom-com, I would argue that the central romance is the friendship, the love between these women.
They've
like
said
I
that
don't
repeatedly in the show.
Exactly.
We are each other's,
soulmates.
Soulmates. Yeah.
So give me that. I actually think that the season 2 finale kind of gave us a little bit more of that. Carrie and Seema on the beach, like that to me felt like a better way to wrap up the show with this potential for this love interest in Aiden down the line than how things wrapped up this season.
My God, Aiden. Let's not even get into that right now. But what they did with the Aiden storyline and everything, which if the idea was for Carrie to end up by herself, single, happily single, like I get that. That felt like conclusive. But there were so many other storylines where I was like, wait, so Seema's just gonna use crystals as deodorant from now on? Like that's how we're resolving that?
Sean, I look forward to
again,
your take
I'm very
on
happy
that one.
where I left the show in Paris. I'm very happy, and John on the phone was great. We got his name. I'm very happy with that original ending, and I'm God bless. And I don't need anything you're saying is not enticing me to go watch that show.
Here's the thing, though. Sarah Jessica Parker just gave an interview where she said she's learned. It's not goodbye, it's farewell. It's I'm not convinced this is the last we'll see of these ladies.
I wouldn't be either.
Give it another 10 years. I'd love to see what they're up to in their next era.
There's an HBO Max movie, maybe not a new series, but definitely a more conclusive, way to go, Natalie. I think you're right.
It'd be fun to keep checking in on them, throughout the years.
There you go.
What's clear is everybody's been watching this show for better or for worse because we love it so much, because we love these characters, and because we love these kinds of shows. So I think it'll be interesting to see where the rest of these projects on the development slate go and what kind of traction they get. But moving on to the box office that's coming up much sooner this weekend, Sean, are there any rom-coms that Natalie and I should be going to?
No. You have a Bob Odenkirk action movie. That'll cleanse your palate of rom-coms right there. Nobody 2 with Bob Odenkirk. So that's the big entry from Universal. The new Spike Lee Denzel movies in some select theaters from Apple, highest to lowest. Again, not a rom-com by any means either. So those, we're hitting it in the old end of August time of year here. You got The Roses coming up with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, which is a kind of a update of the War of the Roses. That's later this month from Searchlight. Not a rom-com, but definitely, kind of more of a dark, acidic comedy, I guess you'd call it. So, but mid-August is always a little bit of a wind down.
Okay. I'll wait for some of those Emily Henry adaptations to hit the screen.
There you go. Yeah. Go it's book reading time. There you go.
What about you, Natalie? Anything you want to see, or are you gonna rewatch the And Just Like That finale in real time with everybody, with the rest of the world?
I think I've put a capper on that.
Wow.
But I might tune in for an episode of New Heights this afternoon. So we'll see.
Yeah, now we have Taylor Swift is back. Exactly.
Yeah.
The real life rom. Who needs these fake rom-coms? We have one in real life. Come on.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this week's Ankler Pod. Visit theankler.com to subscribe to our full suite of newsletters and podcasts for the latest industry insights. And if you enjoy the show, which I hope you do, leave us a rating and review. You can also follow us at The Ankler on all major social platforms. Thanks to Sean McNulty and Natalie Jarvie. And a special thanks to you all for listening. I'm Elaine Lowe. See you next week.